Very warm greetings, everyone. Welcome to the lecture series of Introduction to Environmental Economics. This is a special series dedicated to environmental economics. In the last lecture, we had talked about the social welfare function. We have been talking about utilitarian approach, utilitarian perspective of seeing the utility and welfare of economics from the environmental perspective. In today's lecture, we will talk about welfare, markets, and efficiency. The learning objectives of this particular lecture would be to understand the concept of efficiency, to understand the notion of Pareto optimality, to explore and comprehend Pareto efficiency and equity, to examine Pareto efficiency and market failure, and critically examine the notion of Pareto optimality. And finally, we introduce the efficiency and competitive markets, the relationship between them. Now let us move on to the first concept of market and welfare. Then one of the fundamental normative issues of economics as a discipline is how much to be produced. This is the normative question which we all face as an economist. And who should be producing that particular commodity and consuming a particular good. So this becomes an ethical value judgment or a normative issue for economy to answer or economists to explore. It is primarily the production and allocation decision which creates a problem in economics. A certain amount of pollution, if we take the good in the terms of a pollution, in the terms of the environment, then we talk about the amount of pollution to be generated. A certain amount of pollution is socially desirable. A pollution will be socially desirable. The statement itself takes a toll that how can pollution be desirable? But it is. Eliminating the pollution is always at a cost. Eliminating the pollution would usually results into losses to the society, and those losses are greater than the gain that is obtained by the clean air, then definitely it is a loss and it is not socially desirable. Further, too much of pollution is undesirable. Having too much of pollution and too little of pollution is considered as inefficient in case of environmental economics. Achieving the right amount of pollution but deploying the most cost-effective techniques and methods of generating any production process or pollution can be viewed as inefficient. If it is generated at the least cost possible, then it is efficient. If you're generating the right amount of pollution at a costliest manner or in an expensive manner, then it is inefficient. Now, we should look at what is efficiency. And we talk about efficiency, as we will introduce the concept of efficiency, we will slowly move on to understand the efficiency from the perspective of environmental economics. And as a concept of efficiency, there are two concepts of the term efficiency. Efficiency in obtaining the right overall amount of the pollution control and efficiency in allocating the pollution control responsibility to a specific polluters. So from the economic point of view, from the environmental economics point of view, this is the definition of efficiency. Efficiency can be viewed in two ways. To understand, one is the creating or obtaining or generating the pollution of the right amount of quantity, magnitude of the pollution. And second is allocating the effort to remove that pollution control or to implement pollution control, and that responsibility should be allocated efficiently among all the polluters. It should not result into a gain of few and loss of others. As far as Pareto optimality is concerned, competitive market, competitiveness in the market is considered as to be most efficient way of delivering the market equilibrium. Competition in the market helps the market to function smoothly. It is desirable and it is a good for the entire economy. However, from the perspective of production and distribution, no economic allocation, it is crucial, or if you look at the angle of economic allocation from the perspective of production and distribution and from the angle of economic allocation, it is crucial to evaluate if the competitive equilibrium is actually resulting into a socially desirable outcome. So one needs to investigate whether competition in the market from the social point of view and society point of view, it is actually delivering a socially desirable outcome or not. This investigation will actually prove that a competition is not only efficient, but it is also socially desirable and optimal. So what is Pareto optimality? Pareto optimality or efficiency, it can be said Pareto efficiency also. So Pareto efficiency or optimality is a situation where no action or allocation is available that makes one individual better off without making another one worse off. Basically, as we go on explaining the Pareto efficiency and optimality, you will understand the terms and the meaning of worse off and better off and what it means, the allocation moving from one situation to another. The concept was named, this Pareto optimality concept was named after Vilfredo Pareto, an Italian civil engineer as well as economist who used the concept of economic efficiency and income distribution. He was the one to introduce Pareto optimality concept. Under Pareto optimality, there's number of concepts which have to be very, very clear, as terminologies should be very, very clear before understanding the situation of Pareto optimality. One of the concept is Pareto improvement. Now, what is Pareto improvement? Given an initial situation which is given to you as a matter of fact, and a Pareto improvement is a new situation from where you're moving from initial situation to a new situation where some agents will gain while no agent will lose. So whenever you get a situation like this, that from the initial situation you are given a chance of moving to a new state or new situation, that situation some agents or people are gaining in some way or the other, while there is no loss to others. Such a movement is considered in the concept of Pareto optimality as Pareto improvement movement. Now, what is Pareto dominated? Pareto dominated is again a situation if there exists the possibility of creating Pareto improvement. So, hope you understood the term Pareto improvement. It is a movement from the initial situation to a new situation, creating some people getting benefited, some people making some people better off, but not making others lose anything. If this Pareto improvement is possible, then that situation is called as Pareto dominated. Pareto optimal or Pareto efficient is again, if you want to describe that Pareto optimality, it is a situation which is called as Pareto optimal situation if no change could lead to an improvement in the satisfaction for some agent without another agent losing, or if there is no scope of further Pareto improvement, then that situation will be called as Pareto optimal or efficient situation. So when we are talking about situations, there is several level of state or situation, because why do we talk about situation and state? Because we are talking about the economy and its distribution of resources and wealth. A state in which certain kind of people have been distributed resources in such a way, and now we are trying to evaluate whether this situation is optimal or not. Is this state of distribution is optimal or not? So the concept of Pareto optimality is created to evaluate all the situations and states in an economy. So under Pareto optimality, we have different types of state. One, we talked about the Pareto improvement process, movement improvement, and Pareto dominant, and then Pareto optimal or efficient state. So Pareto efficient state would be actually a state when there is no change is possible for improvement or of satisfaction of any of the agent in some way or the other, without others getting harmed, or they without any others losing anything. If such a there is, in other words, there is no scope left for Pareto improvement, then that state will be considered as Pareto optimal or efficient state. Now, there is another term for to understand Pareto optimality, that is called as Pareto frontier, or Pareto front also sometimes. So, Pareto front, Pareto frontier, or Pareto set, all these are synonyms of each other. Now, what are these? These are the set of alternatives or set of states or allocations that are Pareto efficient situations. So, if you combine and collect a locus of all these Pareto efficient situations, then the kind of a graph you obtain will be called as Pareto frontier or Pareto set, or it is also called as Pareto front. Now, suppose we consider an example and certain assumptions to understand exactly what Pareto optimality concept is. Let us take an example where we have an economy, and there in that economy there are only two persons in the economy. To simplify the entire concept of Pareto optimality, let us consider an economy consisting of only two persons. We construct a feasible set, which is seen in the diagram as you can see in the graph. It consists of a feasible set of A, B, O, and this set belongs to two people. On the x-axis we are locating person A, and on the vertical axis we are locating person B. For every allocation that is inside the set A, B, O, it is possible to find a Pareto preferred allocation, which is a Pareto improvement. To finally understand this, if you carefully look at the graph, on the x-axis we have plotted the utility of A, and on the y-axis we have plotted utility of B. Taking into account these two utilities, we have created a graph that is OBA, that's a concave figure, and all the points lying on OBA are all Pareto efficient and Pareto optimal points. So as you can see, certain points located in the graph like X, Z, R, Y, B. So all these points, some of the points are lying on the frontier, Pareto frontier, which is BA, AB, and some of the points will be lying inside the graph like X. So now we have to see whether these allocations are Pareto optimal or not, and if they are not, then how can we achieve Pareto optimality by certain reallocation of resources or any kind of movement if it is possible to make them Pareto optimal or efficient. So for any point that is lying interior of this allocation or the graph, any allocation which is to the upper right in the direction that improves for both A and B consumers, any movement that leads to an increase in consumption of both A and B will be considered as Pareto improvement. All allocations leading to the utility on the curve line which we are talking about is AB curve. All allocations which lie on the utility curve of line AB are considered as good as possible, and they are considered Pareto sense optimal. This leads to the notion of Pareto frontier. And if we consider a point like X which is lying inside the line AB, all allocations like X which are inside the graph AB, on the line AB, then the allocation in the any movement that leads within the shaded area. As you can see in the graph, there is a shaded area, a triangle you can see. So any movement that moves from X to anywhere within the triangle, that movement is considered as Pareto optimal movement. So Pareto preferred, that will be considered also referred to as Pareto preferred to X. In other words, Pareto improvement over X. Since all allocations in that region give both A and B just as much utility as at X, and for at least one of them more utility. This is further to understand very carefully that why such a movement will be considered as Pareto improvement, any movement within the triangle. The reason is all allocations in that region of triangle, they give both A and B just as much utility as at X they are getting, and for at least one of them, that is one of A and B, one of them some more utility. For example, if you just look at the graph again, any movement from X to R, or you can say Y in between, and this will take them to the improvement of both the increase in the utility of both A and B. So that was Pareto improvement. Any movement that keeps the utility of one individual same but improves the utility of the other is also Pareto improvement. So anywhere you locate, you will find that these cases are prevalent, and you can call any of the movement within that shaded area as Pareto improvement. For any interior allocation, any allocation to the upper right in the direction improves both A and B in a Pareto improvement sense. So all allocations leading to the utility towards the curved line of A and B are as good as possible, and they are considered as Pareto improvement, they are leading to Pareto frontier. Now, what is Pareto frontier finally? It consists of all allocations for which there are no allocations that are left Pareto preferred. Means you have exhausted all possibilities. There is no allocation left that will improve the situation of any of the individuals, or any situation can never be Pareto preferred to all the points which are lying on the Pareto frontier. In other words, Pareto frontier consists of all allocations that cannot be improved in the Pareto sense. So what it means is that the points or the situations or the allocation, they're one and the same thing. So state, point, situation, allocations, all of them which are lying on the frontier AB, line AB, they are Pareto optimal, and there is no other situation except them which will make them Pareto preferred. So that is why this particular line AB is called as Pareto frontier. Now let us go deeper into it. Suppose there is a point or allocation which is Z, which is on the Pareto frontier. You have seen the graph and that Z point on the Pareto frontier. It is not possible to find another allocation that is preferred to Z. So the point Z which is lying on the frontier, it is difficult to, if you are there, then it is difficult to move away from this point Z, no matter what allocation or reallocation government is doing or the economy is doing. If you have reached that Z, then there is no way of improving the situation. You have actually reached the optimality, Pareto optimality. And no, like all the members in the society, here we are considering only two individuals, none of the member will gain, or none of the member will lose, or it will gain at the cost of the other, or it is without disturbing the allocation of the other. There is no way in which any improvement is possible if you have already reached the point Z on the graph of Pareto frontier. This is the notion of economic efficiency. It is also referred to as Pareto optimality. And Pareto optimality is an allocation which is efficient and optimal, or optimal you can say, if it lies on the Pareto frontier. However, an allocation is inefficient if not on the Pareto frontier. Allocation is inefficient if it lies in the interior of the Pareto frontier. So we will continue the discussion after a short break.